G'day Reefers, I'm Cam the Fish Guy. Thanks for watching Gallery Aquatica TV. So today we're going to be doing a maintenance video on one of our most popular tanks, Magic Mountains. And so we've done an epic tanks and why they work on this tank, and we've also shown you the dosing system, but today we're going to run you through the different things that we do when we do a standard service on this tank. So we're out here with our 2,000 litres of natural seawater. Let's go in and look at the tank and we'll show you everything we do in a service for this beautiful aquarium. So here we are at Magic Mountains Reef, and as you can see, everything is going great, but we're here to do a service. So we're going to do a gravel vac, we're going to do a water change, we're going to service the filter, we're going to test the water, but before we do any of that, we'll set up our workspace and get our access to the tank sorted. So one thing you might notice that's different now that we've opened up the hood is that we have one extra light on this tank. And the reason why we've done this is to create a more even light spread across the tank. And so previously we had a pair of lights on either end and 3 through the center, end to end. But now we have 2 side by side in each of the 4 sections of open space on top of the tank. So it's a much better lighting configuration, and things have really responded well since we put in the extra light. So the first thing we'll do is test the water, and it's important for us to test the water first so that we know how much of a water change we need to do. Now with this tank, given the size of it, we can do up to 2,000 litres per water change, which is over 500 gallons. So we're testing the water, and typically this tank runs at a specific gravity of 1.026. The nitrate is generally between 0 and 5 ppm. The phosphate of late has been, well, it was 13 last time, 0.13 last time we tested it. pH has been a little bit low at 8.2, we normally like at 8.4. Calcium has been between 420 and 440, and the KH is usually very stable at 7.7. Magnesium is almost always between 1380 and 450. So we'll test the water and then we'll get into the rest of the service. So because of the depth of this tank being 4 feet deep, it's a little bit difficult to do the gravel siphoning. So what I'm going to use is a gadget which I've invented myself, which is basically just a continuum scraper, and you'll notice that it's one that I stood on and broke, but it's zip tied to the gravel siphon, and I've got an extra long length of hosing so that I can aim that into the bucket. And this will allow me to gravel vac all the areas of the tank, and this will bring the detritus and dirt up out of the substrate and into the bucket and turn over the sand to create, to make it nice and white. So I've just done the gravel vac in this tank and it's stirred up a lot of bacterial silt. Most of it has gone down into the bucket and we'll be disposing of that. But as you can see, the water is slightly clouded. And something I'll point out, this purple gorgonian, it's an absolutely beautiful new addition to the tank, and it's basically opened up and is really enjoying the bacterial silt that is floating around the tank, and it's grabbing little particles and consuming them. So it is interesting how some corals do respond to the water change, the gravel vac and things like that. But that is an absolutely beautiful specimen. We'll go downstairs and we'll show you the next step in the servicing of this tank. So here we are outside the house and we're sitting on one of two sumps, and underneath me is the refugium, and there's nothing really in here that we need to do today. Everything that we're doing today for the servicing of this tank is in this first sump area. And the first thing that we'll do is the protein skimmer. So this is a big high-door performer and we're going to give it a clean today. So that's actually a hose which we've got a phosphate remover binder dripping into the skimmer. But we're going to take the skimmer cup off, and you can see attached to the skimmer cup there's a drainage hose. Now this drainage hose feeds through the sump down into a 20 litre collection drum which will also empty. You have to be careful with that drainage hole because there's still a little bit of solution in here that hasn't drained through. But the main reason why we're going to be cleaning this cup out is just so that we can clean the neck. If we had an automatic neck cleaner it would be good, but we just give this a clean every 1 or 2 weeks and it's pretty good. So I'll take this and the drum, and that's almost full, so that's probably got about 15 litres of waste in it, and we'll go take this to the sink and give it a clean out. So the last time we emptied this drum was about a week ago, and it's definitely been skimming a little bit wetter than we would like, but given that it hasn't overflowed and the system itself is several thousand litres, it's not a problem that we've taken out a little bit extra water than we would otherwise. So as you can see, our skimmer cup is nice and clean. I'm just going to attach that drainage hose to the nozzle here, and it will just go back in place like so. Obviously it's very important to remember to put that drainage hose back on, otherwise the waste is just going to skim straight back into the sump. Now I didn't worry about cleaning the top today. I do that every now and then. I've got it's a very rudimentary way of holding the phosphate binder into the bottom of the skimmer, but it's working. So now we'll clean the filter socks, and the filter socks are at the other end of this sump. So we have 4 large filter socks, and I just let the water drain through them, chuck them in the bucket. So we actually put these into the washing machine without any detergent, and that's enough to wash each batch. But it's good to have 2 sets of socks so that you can do this at your leisure and you don't have to do it at the same time that you're doing your tank maintenance. Alright, this is the last one. And now I'll just chuck in these 4 new ones. It's a really cool sump design, and you can see that it's plastic welded into the sock holder is plastic welded into this sump, and they fit beautifully. Alright, there we go. Oops. So now I'll just take our dirty socks and I'll go chuck them upstairs, and then they'll be ready to be washed for next time. So that's everything that we need to do down here at the sump for the purpose of maintenance. So now that we've done our gravel vac and we've done the servicing on the filter, it's time to start the water change. And given the size of the tank and the volume that we water change, it does allow us a little bit of time to do some other things whilst the tank is draining. But I do have the big hose today, so I'm going to get it started and we'll get this tank draining. So now that we've got the tank draining, I've got some time to do some other things, and I'm just going to clean up a little bit in our workstation. And I've specifically left a couple of buckets of water that we use when we're doing our gravel vacuuming, so that I'll empty them now, just so that I'm not waiting for the water to drain out. So we're draining this massive tank with our large hose, and you'll notice that the level in the tank hasn't really dropped very much, and that's because at the moment we're actually draining the sump downstairs. And as you can see, the return pump is still running, or the twin return pumps are still running, so it's feeding water from that sump up into here, and soon we'll turn those return pumps off, which will then allow the tank to drain, and we'll drain down to probably around about here, just a quarter of the display tank. That coupled with the 1,000 litres from downstairs, we'll be looking at around about somewhere between 1,200 and 1,600 litres for the water change. But we want to make sure that our water that's going back into the tank is ready as soon as we finish draining. So let's go outside and we'll get our return line set up. So my plan is to use at least one full IBC of water, but probably 1.5. I'm going to start by using this rear IBC, and I'm going to use the suction hose straight into the IBC, and this is going to feed into the pump, and the pump is going to be located near a power point, so it's very easy to turn on and off, and then from the pump into the tank. So we're almost at the point that we're going to turn the return back on. We've drained the sump downstairs and we've taken probably another 600 or 700 litres out of the DT. And you can see this massive Dallas colony, how much it's sliming up with the still water. And when we turn the return back on, you'll see even a better example of all this slime going around the tank. But anyway, I'm gonna stop the drain, and I'll go flick on the return pump, all set up, ready to go. I've just put away all of the hoses and we're just about to pack up. Now I'll just run you through some of the things that we do every service that we haven't demonstrated. First of all, we do the algae on the glass using a magnetic algae cleaner, and we've got the MagFloat Jumbo. And this is really good to allow us to clean the algae right to the substrate line. We also look at the dosing vessels every time we're here, and we check that the dosing pump is feeding the solution into the sump, as well as adjusting the dosing pump to ensure that we're putting in the right amount of calcium, KH and mag. I also like to waft my hand over the tank so that it sort of frees up a lot of this slime which you can see on the Dallas, and also any accumulated detritus in the tank. So this is pretty much everything we do for a service on this tank. We do this every single week. Every 6 months or so we might vinegar soak the wave makers, do a full service on the return pumps, dust the lights, things like that. But that's it for today's episode of Gallery Aquatica TV. I really hope you've enjoyed watching this as much as we have enjoyed bringing it to you. And so I'm Cam the Fish Guy, and happy reefing. So that's our video for today. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe as well. We'll be putting out videos every week showing a new tank with new products. There's going to be lots in all the videos. I'm Cam the Fish Guy, and keep on reefing.